welcome everyone to Love Books. Thank you so much for coming tonight. It's really lovely to see you all here. I've noticed over the last few weeks that lots of customers, whether they're here buying for themselves or they're buying for their children, have asked for books that are going to uplift them and make them happy. And this is not books that are going to do that in a sort of self-helpy way. This is books that are going to be fun and entertaining and a good story. And that is exactly where the Book People comes in. It's the hole that it fills. It's a good story, it's sharp, it's funny, it's entertaining, and it's relevant. But you're not going to be sitting here wondering if you've missed a moral or a theme. You're not going to be sad. You really are just going to be able to sit back and be entertained. And it's not an easy thing to do, if in case I'm making it sound like that. To make people laugh and to be clever in books is really, really hard. So thank you, Paige, for writing this book to lift our spirits. And I think maybe it's the troubled times that is, making us want to read things that are not too demanding. And welcome to Love Books. It's really lovely to have you here tonight. And to Joburg. I'd just like to thank Pan Macmillan and the team that is here tonight. Lovely to have all of you here tonight. And they, of course, are the publishers of Book People. A little bit about Paige for you. She's a novelist, a columnist, and a copywriter. She's the founder of GBAS, which is the Good Book Appreciation Society on Facebook, and which features in here. And where she has over 23,000 members. She's the host of Book Choice, a book show on Fine Music Radio. She's written 7 other books, and that includes a couple of Choose Your Own Adventure erotic tales. I don't know what happened to those, Paige, but I don't have them here tonight. Chatting to Paige tonight is the equally prolific and effervescent Gail Schimmel. Gail is a Wonder Woman herself. She's also the author of 8 published novels, the last one which was The Finish Line. And she's an attorney, and she's the CEO of the Advertising Regulatory Board, sorry. I could throw in a few more words. Yeah. Anyway, lovely to have you here. As always, Gail, over to you.
Thank you, Kate. I'm just laughing because, as Kate said, your last book was The Finish Line. My publisher threw me an ugly look about, that's quite a long time ago, and what's going on here?
As long as you keep on with that, then she stays off my back.
Okay. I am going to start in a way I always start a book launch, because not everyone here has read the book. And I would like you to give us an elevator pitch. You're stuck in the elevator with a top Netflix producer or international publisher. You've got the time of the elevator to tell us what your book is about and sell it to us. Go.
I wish I was wearing a more low-cut top, first of all. And second of all, what floor are we going to? How long do I have? Okay. My voice sounds crazy through this. I'm going to try not to turn my back on you too much, but forgive me. So I run a book club on Facebook called the Good Book Appreciation Society, which was kind of started by accident. And it has 23,000 members. And the oldest writing advice in the world, unlike the oldest industry in the world, is you should write what you know. And so I wrote a book about a book club on Facebook called the Good Book Appreciation Society that has 23,000 members. So that's what it's about. It's set in the world of this book club. It's set in this online space. And there's an author on the book club, and he gets a review of his crime novel, and he's a real fan of his own work. Let's just put it like that. And he creates all these multiple personalities online to try and promote his own writing. I mean, I didn't know people did that, but apparently that's a thing. And somebody writes a really stinking review of his book on the page, and it undoes him. He does not deal with it in a mature level-headed way. And he does that thing that writers aren't allowed to do, and he responds. And it's kind of a known thing in the industry. You don't respond to bad reviews. If you do, you're called a badly behaved author with capital letters. Yeah, exactly. And he responds. And he doesn't just respond once, he carries on responding. And the internet turns on him very fast, as the internet is wont to do. And he gets cancelled. And everybody first moves over to Twitter or X, and then they move to Goodreads, and they give his books 1 star, even the books he hasn't written yet. And he gets, all his events get cancelled, and he just bottoms out. He can't eat, he can't sleep, and he becomes unbearable. And so it's about cancel culture. It's about this thing that happens in the world. It's about how we behave online. Somehow we behave differently to how we behave in the real world, whether it's that screen gives us some kind of anonymity.
I'm going to stop you. The elevator has landed.
Sorry.
And you're answering all
That's
my
the
other
book.
questions. I'm like, oh my God, she's
That's
going to
the
answer
book.
everything now. And then I'll just sit here and go, no.
The end. Acknowledgements.
I'm very curious about something, which is why did you not call it the Good Book Appreciation Society? Because I think that's a nice name for a book.
I'll make this one quick. It was originally going to be called when I wrote it, it was the Good Book Appreciation Society, and it felt too narrow because it's about more than that. It's about the world we live in right now. It's about social media. It's about cancel culture. And so then it was Book People was the next title, but we were debating between the Book People and Book People. And we decided Book People was broader. The Book People, because you're an author, you can split a hair 1,000 ways and post-rationalize everything. The Book People would be only the book people in the book. And this is about book people, all of us sitting here. I hope you will all see a bit of yourself in this book, in the nice characters.
Well, that then leads me to a very important audience question. How many of you are members of the Good Book Appreciation Society?
Thank you.
Those of you who are not, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Why are you not? Do you really consider yourselves book people? It will be 23,005 after tonight. Paige, we had a little chat today where we talked about what genre this book is and how to, one's put under a lot of pressure as an author to generalize your book.
Very
that
good.
was good. That was good.
Amazing. Hashtag and it's yours.
Someone write it down quickly.
Wow.
Because I won't
Genrelise.
remember.
Love it.
What genre, where would you put it? I've got 2 in my head. Where would you put it?
That's a really hard question, and I'm not sure how to answer it. I'm going comedy fiction. Is that a genre?
Is that a genre? Booksellers, is
We
that a genre?
genrealized it.
We're generalizing it into comedy fiction. I think it is a genre. There are also aspects of cozy to it. There is a crime.
Yeah. Yeah. there's a bit of
There is a crime. If you need a crime in your books, I'm not saying more, but there is a crime. Okay. So we're gonna
And the crime isn't dog earring pages. Although some feel that it is on the page. Book people are saucy here.
The story of how you started the Good Book Appreciation Society is also really an unexpected one for me. So I want you to share it with everybody.
Right, so Sue just arrived and she said she'd just come from her work book club. And I was like, that's how this all started. I belonged to a book club at the advertising agency I worked at. And on a Friday at lunchtime, it was very informal. We'd gather around somebody's desk. Sometimes there was cake. Sorry. When I say cake, it makes Gail want to eat cake. Sometimes it was cake, and we would shove books in each other's hands. And the one day, Megan, who was very much part of the club, threw a Bret Easton Ellis book out the window, and a car drove over it because she hated it so much. She was so furious. She couldn't have it in her sphere for one more second. And then a couple of people left the agency. Something happened in our industry. People stopped taking lunch. Things became very hectic and lunch was no longer a thing. And so we moved it online so that we could still carry on doing it. We called it the Good Book Appreciation Society. We were 5 members. And the first post got 3 likes. Just thinking, I don't know why couldn't all 5 of them like the damn post? I'm suddenly very outraged. I'm going to write to them tomorrow. And then as Facebook is exponential, and I don't know, now we sit at 23,005.
Obviously, the book was inspired by the Good Book Appreciation Society. I don't know what did Kate just call it? Gabaz. Like Gabaz. We need a short.
Gabaz.
But how did that happen? Like, was there a moment? How did that idea seed happen? What led from a Facebook group to a book?
So I hadn't written a book since 2017. My last book was unprecedented, and I didn't know what to write next. I didn't have any more ideas, which was new to me because I've always gone from one to the next to the next. And so I decided I just wasn't going to write again, and that was fine. I decided to be fine with that and be a person in the world and live my life, which was quite nice. And then I was running the group, and in my day job as an person in advertising, we collide ideas. It's all about collisions. So you take two things and put them together. So my brain does that quite naturally. And I obviously am on the page a lot, and I knew there were 22,000 members or however many at the time. And I thought, if just 1% of the club were interested enough to buy this book, I might sell 2,000 copies. And in South Africa, that would be considered a big bestseller. And it's kind of a cool space, and there's a lot going on here. There's a lot to be interested in. And so then that was the catalyst. And then I had to start thinking, well, if I did write a book set called The Good Book Appreciation Society, set in the Good Book Appreciation, who would the people, what's the story? What's the catch? What's the thing? And then I started to think about some of the things that happened on the page, authors storming off, people having arguments, coming to blows, blocking me, all those things that people do. And then the story, the characters developed from there.
It's so tempting to ask you to spill all the tea, name all the names. And it must have been tempting when you were writing it as well. So what did you do to differentiate it so that you didn't get sued by anybody? Because that's important.
It was very important to me that because so much of the book is fact, in fact, there are threads from the Good Book Appreciation Society verbatim in the book. I reached out to members and said, would you mind if I used your words? And
I'm so hurt that I wasn't one of them.
You need to be more contentious. You're obviously too nice. Yeah, exactly. Can you be more of a narcissist? Because the book is so based in the real world, so much of the time, I needed it to be fiction, 100%. So Norma, who's the woman who runs the club, who's me, not me, I removed her from me as much as I could. So she lives in London. She's an accountant. What magic is that? Numbers? I don't know. I don't know numbers at all. So I made her very different. She lives with this terrible boyfriend in a flat in London. And when I say terrible boyfriend, I always see a lot of women going. And so I made her very different. I made Harry, he's completely made up. Although I actually do know somebody named Harry Shields, and he is a writer. But I'd already written it when I realized that I knew him, and he was already Harry, and I couldn't unharry him. And I thought, I couldn't unharry him, and I doubt this. Hopefully, this guy. We'll see. Sorry, Andrea. Should I have disclosed that before you published me?
Andrea's like speed dialing the lawyers. Your book really is all about the characters in a way. There is a plot, don't worry. It isn't just drivel about characters. There's a plot, a good plot. But the characters are key. What is your character development process? Do you have one? Do you do that thing where you write them background stories? How do you work?
I think them background stories. I think about them a lot until they become very real and start chatting in my head. So I know that I'm ready to write a book when my characters start having conversations without me in my head. That sounds crazy.
I think possibly.
Does that happen to you?
Completely.
Okay.
Completely.
Sure.
I don't know that that's any guarantee that that's not madness.
Well, a madness shared is a madness enjoyed. Yeah, exactly. Madness helped. I work them through in my head a lot, and I get to know them. And if I struggle to get to know them or work them through, I will start to write some stuff down. But normally, I think them into being. I think them into reality.
I've got a question I was going to ask later, but I'm going to ask it now. How much does naming the character have to do with that? And how do you do that process of naming? Because there are lots of characters in this book.
I hate naming characters. I invariably end up naming characters people I know without realizing it. So Unprecedented, the journalist, I can't remember the name of the character in the book. Anyway, I wrote the book and the book came out, and then somebody reached out to me. It has the same name, and we worked together for like 10 years. And I had completely forgotten. And he was like, hey. And I was like, oh, damn. I'm really sorry. I didn't do that on purpose. And he's not a great character. He's not very nice. But this thing happens to me where when I say names, they don't sound real. When I make up names, I go like, Nancy Stewart. Ugh, like no names sound real when you make them up. So then maybe that's why subconsciously I often land on
something
something I've heard. But I don't know if this is something you find. But once I've named them and the name is locked in, because sometimes you change a name through the process. But once I've named them and they're locked in, it's really, I can't change that name. So when I realized that I know Harry Shields, I was like, no, I actually can't. That's Harry. I can't change his name.
I once had to change a name, and the character's appearance completely changed in my head. It was the weirdest thing. She just completely changed appearance without.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very wrapped up. They're people. Yeah. They're real imaginary people.
Now let's go deep diving into these real imaginary people, and we're going to start with Norma. And Norma is at a pivot in her life. She's having a possibly not a midlife, because she's very young at 41. Paige, you and I are the same age, so we know 41 is very young. But she's possibly having an early midlife crisis or an early midlife pivot. Talk to me about the inspiration for that, because I think it's something a lot of women relate to.
Yeah, she's an accountant and she doesn't love her job. And London is very grey. And she goes to work, and in one of the scenes, she's leaving the office and there's only one person left in the office. And he says something to her like, good night, Nora, have a good night. And she's like, it's Norma, I've worked with you for 10 years. And like, so she's had no traction there. She doesn't feel anything for it. She goes to work and counts numbers and
counts numbers.
That's what accountants do. They count numbers. I did my research good. And so she wants to be in publishing. She loves books. We all love books. Book people love books. I don't know, do you smell books? We smell books. We love stationery. We're special. We all dream of, like, that's why these Airbnbs where you can sleep in a bookshop. It's like wish fulfillment. So she wants to be in publishing, and she decides she's had enough. She's not going to spend her whole life wishing she was someone else. She's going to take the leap and take the risk, which doesn't pay off. Anyway, I won't spoil any more. She thinks it's going to pay off, and it doesn't, sadly.
Maybe it does in a way. I think possibly. I don't think you should be put off your midlife pivot by Paige. And then you've mentioned awful Steve. And he is the awful boyfriend. And I love writing awful characters. So I want to know if you had that, if you enjoyed writing Steve, and also if there was a particular person that you were getting revenge on.
All my ex-boyfriends at once. I don't know that I loved writing Steve, because he's a dick. He's
magnificent.
Right.
He's such a dick.
So I loved and hated him, which is, I think, what you're saying. It's quite fun to make somebody gross. But I way preferred writing like the acerbically funny characters. Victoria, there are other characters that I loved writing. Steve was just a blimp, and I felt writing him as a blimp. So I didn't love Steve.
But you loved writing Victoria.
I loved writing Victoria. Victoria is Harry, the author who disgraces himself's wife. And she was going to be a really tiny character. And she just grew and grew and grew because I fell in love with her, a complete girl crush on her. And she's a surgeon. And there's a scene where Harry says, it's not easy being an author, And she says, because he takes himself so seriously, she says, unlike being a surgeon. And she really is, what she does really is serious. And what he does is so not serious, but he takes it so seriously, and she doesn't take herself seriously at all. And I loved writing her also because I felt like she was a foil. Like, Harry is so unlikable, but she loves him so much that it makes you like him a little. I wanted you to like him a little bit more because she loves him so much and she's there for him. So I really, Victoria, these strong, funny women, I get a lot of nachas, as my granny would say, writing them. I enjoy them. I want them to be my friends.
Oh, I want Victoria to be my friend, except I'm a bit scared of her, but yeah.
She's very scary.
Okay, which brings us to Harry. And Harry is a lot of fun. Okay, first of all, Paige and I might now have a public fight.
Yay!
Harry uses aliases to write nice things about himself. Why is one of his aliases Gail A?
Oh, so that is an anagram of A. Gill.
Okay, I knew you were going to have...
A. Gill is one of my favorite horrible review writers. I don't know if any of you have read any A. Gill. Kate, I don't know if you've got any A. Gill books, but he wrote for all the British papers and he reviewed restaurants and books and things, but he was the king of that really disgusting, stinky review, but beautifully done. Like, he would slam your book in the best English. Like, he was amazing. So I'm a big fan of A. Gill. So I thought, if I make one of Harry's pseudonym who reviews books in a stinky way, Gail A.
I knew that double L.
An in-joke only with me.
I knew the double L held the key to it, but I have been worrying.
You're another character in the book. I hid you a bit better.
Very well, very well. I'm going to have to reread the book. Okay. Now, Harry is amazing because he's awful, but he's every writer. He is, we all actually want to be awful. We all want to shout at people who give us bad reviews. We all want to secretly write good reviews about our own books. Where did Harry come from? Is he somebody? I mean, I know that's the worst thing to ask a fiction writer. I can't believe I just asked it, but I asked it, so it's out there.
No, Harry's all of us. Harry's all the writers. Because, funny, I did a podcast today with Gail and Fiona, and something that Harry does is he goes into bookshops, and Kate will say, book writers do this all the time. Go into a bookshop and you find your book hidden in a corner and you bring it front and center and you put it in front of the Stephen King novel. Because Stephen King sells enough books, he'll be fine. And then at the end of the day, the booksellers come around and they put all the books back where they're supposed to be. So we were doing this thing and Gail was like, yeah, she's done that. And I was like, oh yeah, I've done that. Fiona was like, I haven't done that. She's like, I've thought of doing it, but I've never done it. I was like, you're a very good person because we all do that. All authors. The other thing, like you phone a bookshop to see if they've got your book. Like, hi, do you have any copies of Book People? How many copies do you have? Oh, 2. I'm thinking of buying 5. Could you order more in? Like, we're awful. We're terrible, terrible people. So Harry is all those things that I secretly think about and do, and that I think is universal.
I've never done the phoning thing.
Have you never phoned a bookshop to see if they've got your... I'm actually blushing. Have you never?
Part of it is I really hate phoning people. So I wouldn't even like to phone a bookshop to order a book that I wanted to order.
Oh.
I really hate phoning.
Okay. So I feel a bit better about my life choices. But still.
Okay. One of the big things about Harry that, and you've touched on it, it does raise, Harry's story raises the whole issue of cancel culture. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah. Cancel culture is something that we live with so much. It's kind of ridden a wave of a life cycle. So it came in, we started canceling people and it was good because women were being recognized. the gender pay gap was being recognized. People who'd been disenfranchised were recognized. White men were starting to discover what they could and couldn't say for the first time, even though they still ignored it. And then, so it did do some really good things, but then it also started to do some really damaging things, and people became scared to say things that they wanted to say, and comedians started to struggle because how do you make a joke about periods if you're not allowed to mention periods? So it's done like a bit of a wave, and I don't know where it's going to go. And I think future generations, people younger than us, I mean, although we're very young.
Very young.
Very young.
Very young.
Those babies who are very much younger than us, they have a lot more empathy. Somehow I feel the younger generations have more empathy than we've grown up with. And so they may deal with cancel culture in a different way. They may choose to manage cancel culture differently. And in the book are two young women in their 20s, and they intern in the publishing house with Norma. And I wanted to look at cancel culture through our eyes, their eyes, just kind of. Also, I do this other thing when I'm writing a book, is sometimes I want to know how I feel about something. And I wanted to explore what I think about cancel culture and have really long thoughts about it to try and figure out what I think about cancel culture. So that was also part of my process of figuring out how I feel about cancel culture.
And where did you land?
It has these two aspects. The one is it's been very, very good for humanity in a lot of ways. It's been very detrimental. And a lot of different crimes receive the same punishment. And some of them aren't really deserving of full cancellation. And yet we do it anyway because the internet, we love to pile in. If something is an issue, if something happens, we love to grab the popcorn and become an expert on the subject and pile in because it's fun. Despite what it might do to somebody. It's just how we are, and it's a bit like watching a car accident. It can be quite pleasant.
Love a good car accident.
But you know what I mean. Next question. Before I get cancelled.
Is this something you've seen play out on the Good Book Appreciation Society? I mean, I know I sometimes do grab the popcorn, no doubt about that, but I don't think we've seen anyone cancelled.
Interestingly, when I wrote the book, things got heated on the page, but not massively. And since I've written the book, the world's changed. As we know, things are happening. There is conflict, there's war, there's religious disruption, there's death, there's mayhem, there's a lot of damage happening in the world. And there are people who are very damaging, but also divisive. People love them, people hate them. So since I know that there are triggers, if somebody mentions Trump, Musk, Palestine, Israel, Russia, Ukraine, Peterson, if somebody mentions certain topics, things really escalate. And people do not necessarily get cancelled, but people are being really ugly on the page. And I've noticed that there've been nights where I've just gone, I can't even moderate this anymore. I'm not equipped. I'm just a girl who writes some porn sometimes. Like, I don't know how to deal with these two people, like, killing each other. And why is everyone asking me to deal with this? Like, where's the adult in the room? I'm not that person. So I have noticed it's really escalated.
I think you found the solution. Just jump in and write some porn.
Right. Smut. Bring out the smut. Everyone loves a bit of smut.
That will distract
every
everybody.
person loves a bit of smut, I've discovered.
You've mentioned the two friends that Norma makes, and I've actually noticed half the time I've written Norma and half the time I've written Nora. I'm as bad as her colleague.
We've been working together for 10 years, Gail.
I think it's just my very, very flustered brain. But I think in this particular case, I was concentrating so hard on spelling her two friends' names. Now, first of all, I don't know how to say them, so please say them for us, and then tell us those names in particular. Where from? What's going on here, Paige?
Bavinga and Brittany, but Brittany has 3 T's. It's Brittany with 3 T's and I think 2 N's, 5 N's or something. She spells it. She's an influencer. She's a TikToker. She's a young TikToker, and she's got like a little moon bag fanny belt. The zippy thing.
I don't know the name.
What's that thing called now? Moonbag. And she carries, like, she's got collapsible chopsticks, and she pulls out her collapsible chopsticks to eat her sushi. And so she's like an influencer on TikTok, and her name is Brittany. But she spells it with 3 T's because because T is her favorite letter. And then Bavinga, who's the other 20-something girl who works with her. Bavinga's not on any social media. She's obsessed with books. Brittany doesn't read books at all. She really loves movies. She can tell you any movie in the world, and she'll tell you why read the book, because there's a movie of every book out there. So they offset each other. So Bavinga is obsessed with books. All she wants to do is be left alone in a corner and read. She's antisocial. She's an introvert. She's lovely. She's a lovely girl. She just wants to read. What's not to like?
And through them, you give us quite an insight into the publishing world and also the whole concept of a slush pile. I don't know if everyone knows about the horror that a slush pile is to an author. It's where you go to die. Did you research this, or did you go, Andrea, tell me about publishing? Which is research.
No, I just wrote what I know. Basically, I wrote what I know, but I made up that slush pile room. I don't think it really exists. So Norma goes to work, long story short, Norma goes to work in a publishing house as an intern, and her and these 2 girls, Bavinga and Brittany, get shoved in the basement. It's an independent publishing house in London, and they get shoved in the basement in the slush pile room. And slush pile is when they receive manuscripts from all over the people, just writers send in their manuscripts hoping to be published, and then shove them in a corner or in a room until someone can get to them. And this publishing house is now moving buildings, and they've got to clear out the slush pile room. But they're worried that there's the next Pulitzer Prize winner might be in the slush pile, and so they don't want to just set fire to it, which is what their instincts say. So they put these interns down there to sort through the slush pile. But I took a bit of license, and in fact, another publisher wanted me to set it in South Africa. They said, would you consider setting the book in South Africa? And that was one of the reasons why I didn't want to, because I needed this independent British publishing house that had been there for 40 years and has a slush pile with manuscripts that date back to the 70s in it. So piles and piles of manuscripts. So I needed that to be whole.
That's a very good point. I hadn't thought of that. It's a very good reason to have it in London. Because I got a bit of a fright. I thought we were going to be safely in South Africa with the Good Book Appreciation Society, and then suddenly I wasn't. And I had to take a deep breath and go, this is okay.
It's me, but not me, did you think?
Brittany opens our eyes to the world of book talk. Talk to us about that and your thoughts about book talk and its influence on the industry.
Is anyone here on book talk? I'm curious. So, yeah. Are you? Yeah.
I tried.
I'm very fascinated by book talk, because how can you not be? It's changed. It's a phenomenon. It's changed publishing 100 million%. When you walk into any bookstore now, you see front and center, book talk made me do it, and all these titles that are selling millions and millions of copies. And it's gotten people reading, young people reading. It's the gateway. We used to read comics, Archie comics, and we had a gateway to reading. And I think this is a gateway to reading for young people in a big way. And it's so evident to me. My niece, who lives in London, is 21, and she comes here every December on her Christmas holidays. And the last 2 years, I've never seen her as much as pick up a book. And the last 2 years when she's come on holiday, each time she's bought 3 fat books with her. Colleen Hoover, Sally Rooney, all the book talk books that she's seeing, and she's reading them. So this is a girl who's 21 and gone through her whole life, never picked up a book, and suddenly she's obsessed with reading. And the other thing that's interesting to me is how book talk content is consumed. And I think it's quite, is that me making all noise? Oh, sorry, as long as it's not me. I'm normally the one who gets into trouble. So the way we consume content, all of us, we grew up, if you wanted to watch the A-Team, you had to tune in next week for the next episode of ER or A-Team or Airwolf or Knight Rider or whatever you were watching. You had to wait, or Dynasty. You had to wait till next week. Well, now we binge watch. We get an entire series dropped into our computer and we can watch it. So these book talkers, what they're doing is going into a bookshop and buying an entire series before they've even read the first one. So they'll buy 3 books in a series or 5 books in a series because they buy into it. This romantasy, there's this new genre kind of romance and fantasy that's so huge. And so they buy into it, and they don't even know if they're going to like it, which is unheard of. I would never buy Bridget Jones 1, 2, and 3 all in once until I've read Bridget Jones 1. Then I might go back for 2. So I'm very curious about how BookTok is educating readers and also how it's changing reading habits. I don't know if you find reading habits are changed through BookTok. I'm fascinated by it.
And they also seem to read in quite an intellectual way because they've got little flags sticking out of all their books. Like they've highlighted things, and I always wonder if they just stuck random flags.
Is that for the content, for it to look good, or is that actually things that they've put? Well, clearly they're not dog earring pages. Were you thinking that?
I do wonder. I mean, I presume those flags are for something, not just for decoration, although that was a nice, pretty color that matches the book.
Well, I was going to say, we all book people, that's stationery. It's like crack, right? You want to buy the stickies in all the different colors, and then you need to have something to do with them. So maybe that's what we should be doing, Paige. We should be buying books, putting Post-its in them, and then making videos of ourselves. Because we're so young.
Because we're so young that we should totally be
totally.
On that note, this is a very, very funny book. And I want to know how one does that. How does one write humor? How do you write humor? How do you make sure that we find the book funny?
Well, I hope you do find the book funny. I've taken to saying it's a comedy novel. At least you'll tell me. I think it's a comedy novel. You'll read it and let me know. I don't really know how to answer that. I like humor. I like to be fun. I like to make people laugh. I get a lot of joy out of making people laugh and smile. And I just try, for me, it's in quirky characters, maybe. Maybe if you can write a strange character who's got a strange quirk, that's funny. So I try and find the humor. In fact, Sarah Lotz, who I write with sometimes, is an amazing author. Her Impossible, if you haven't read it, it's astonishing. It's really good, right? She says that I'll write, she once said to me, you'll write a whole chapter just so you can get a punchline in at the end. And I'll say, yes, I will. So I'll do anything for a cheap laugh. I'll even write smut so that for the rest of my life I can say I wrote smut and get a cheap laugh like that. So I just try and infuse it. I try and entertain myself, I guess. Every now and then there's a line and I'll go, and then oh, that was funny. And then I like myself for a minute longer before I hate myself again.
And you put little Easter eggs for yourself, as we've just discovered with AA Girls. So, I mean, that's another.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that. It's like, I don't know. How are you tall? I don't know. I don't know. How are you funny? How are you? I don't know.
Sorry. I didn't mean to ask you how are you tall. Having a very tall husband, I know how frustrating that question
No,
can
it's
be.
a good question. I'm bad at answering it. I don't know. Sorry.
The next question, I want to talk about something, but I'm so scared of a spoiler around this. But there is a aspect of this book that is about how the internet can be used to manipulate and trick people, and how what you read on the internet is not always what or who you think it is. But we don't want to talk about where that is in the book and how it relates to the book. But is that something you consciously wrote about? Is it something that worries you? The scams we see on the internet, the identity theft we see.
God, it's huge right now, right? I heard a saying that stuck with me. It was like, nobody knows you're a dog on the internet, which really stuck with me. Like, nobody knows actually who you can be anyone you want. And I internet dated, so I know that to be true. I internet dated for a long time. No, you can say whatever the hell you want, and it can be true if you say it. So
I'm very tempted to ask for the best internet dating story now, but
I've got a few. Do we have time?
And maybe that's another book.
That was my column for 4 years, was about the internet. I called it sport dating. I was dating basically for material. Anyway, I think people in two ways. People pretend to be someone else as themselves on the internet. Maybe you're not very brave, but on the internet you are a bit braver. Or maybe you, I don't know, we project who we want to be a little bit easier on the internet in one way. And then in another way is we make profiles that aren't ourselves and we troll people. Not all of us. I'm sure nobody in this room does that, but people are doing that. People are trolling. I get a lot of people direct message me on the Good Book Appreciation Society to say, this person is saying this to me and saying that to me. And I go and I look and I go, they are a troll. They are trolling you. Walk away. Step away. Do not stay up all night crafting your response. This person wants you to respond. Do not give them the satisfaction. You can't have an argument with yourself. Let them have an argument with themselves and walk away. So there's a lot of that on the page, trolling and, so I wanted to explore that. It felt I would be remiss if I didn't explore it in a book about this kind of behavior.
I just want to reassure you, I am trying to wrap myself up in time for you to ask lots of questions as well, but I'm not quite done with Paige, not quite done with her. Today, you told me a lot about your writing process, and I found myself particularly interested in how fast you write and kind of how consuming it is for you. And I think everybody else will be interested in that as well. So can you tell me that again and everyone else, hopefully for the first time?
I can, but very lovely author Jazzy McKenzie's in the audience. And she told me how much she writes in a day. And
she's quite prolific.
And it shocked me. I thought I was prolific. She's incredible. So as much as anyone does, people are...
Am I just going to feel such a failure?
You're going to have a horrible night. For somebody, pour Gail a vat of wine. So when I decide that I'm going to write a book, this one, for example, I have the idea and I decide I'm going to do it and I commit to it and I go, this is a book and I can do this. And I start to think about it. And when I'm ready to start writing it, I become obsessive about it. And I don't do anything else. So I'll do my day job. I'll do the bare minimum to stay alive or keep a plant alive or keep my job or keep my petrol in my car or exercise. But I don't do much more. I turn down all social events. I don't see people. I won't talk to people. My head is full of voices already. I can't watch TV. I can't read. I can't do anything. All I can do is just scribe, just write what's happening in my head. And so I'll get a first draft down very quickly, maybe in a month or 2 months, but of very obsessive writing. But it's very bad. That first thing that I write is very dirty. So like the dirtiest...
Not black sex dirty.
No, the dirtiest martini you ever drank, like that. Like big chunks missing and big plot holes, but it's out. It's like a purge of a fever. So that's my process. I write in every gap that I can find, and I'm call myself Paige No Friends, and I'm horrible to be around.
A month or two, she says in a throwaway voice.
And then a year, making it edible.
Okay. Thank you for that, Paige. It's very comforting that there's a year afterwards. I don't believe you actually, but I'll take the comfort.
6 to 9 months.
I'm interested as well. You said, I think about it first. And writers tend to divide into plotters and pantsers. A plotter plots the whole book before they start writing, and a pantser writes by the seat of their pants. Which are you?
I'm both. So my first 3 novels I plotted deeply. Like my first novel, I plotted just about every word, every chapter, every scene. I knew exactly what was coming. I knew the whole book before it was done. Same with my second book. Then I started to just move away from that a little bit. And now the most, starting with Book People, and I've written 2 manuscripts since this one. And I very much know the world that I'm in. And I know where I'm going. I don't know what the end is, but I know who everyone is and I know what the world is. And then I just have the best time, sometimes the worst time, making it, figuring it out, what's next, now what's going to happen. So I have an idea of plot, but it's not all neatly tied up. And I'm finding that process very enjoyable of figuring it out, although lots of speed bumps. Like, oh, shit, now what? Because the whole thing about writing a book, you have to put your character put them in shit, put them in hot water. Nobody wants to read a book where everything goes so beautifully. Nobody wants to read that. So you get your character into hot water, and then I've got to go like, oh, okay, well, now what? Thanks. Now what? How do I get out of this? So, and often you read a book. We were talking about a book earlier today where you feel like the author didn't plot it and got to the end and then didn't really know what to do. And you feel that in the reading it. You're like, oh, that's not quite as satisfactory. Doesn't give me the satisfaction that the whole front of the book gave me. I can see you had some problems and you had to tie up loose ends and it didn't really work for me. Sometimes that happens. Buy my book and come talk to me and I'll tell you which book. I'll spill the tea on which book we were scandalizing.
And Joe, you dropped so many little hints and then refused to tell me more things about so many things that I might actually have to corner you. I'll get a glass of wine into her, please, guys. And then I'm going to find out all the things she hinted at. Before I hand it over to the audience, I do want to, we've kind of touched on this, but I have a favorite unexpected character in this book. And I want to ask you who your favorite character is in the book. And also, I think you might have told us who your favorite was to write.
Definitely Victoria, I think, was my favorite to write. And I think you mean Marina. Was Marina your favorite?
I'm very interested in Marina. You can talk about Marina, but my favorite character you will never guess.
Okay, hold on.
Who? Talk about Marina if you want to.
No, but I can't think and talk at the same time. Who's your favorite character?
She's pivotal, but she's a
Frida Kruger.
Diamond. Yes.
Is it really? Oh, cute. Oh, that's cool.
Now you're all going to have to read the book to find out who Frida Kruger is.
Frida Kruger only has one line that she repeats through the entire book.
She doesn't actually.
Oh, she doesn't?
Well, she doesn't say it.
You're right. Oh, you're right.
She doesn't say it.
Oh, you're right.
She doesn't actually have any lines.
She has no lines.
But she's so important that the book ends with her.
Oh, yeah, she's lovely.
She is lovely. I've lost her. Who was your favorite character, just in terms of their personality?
Victoria. I love Victoria.
Writing and everything
Victoria.
about her.
I just loved her. Maybe she must be in a book of her own. Although I don't think she has enough tension because she's cool. I liked her.
I like the idea of a book of her own.
Oh, Victoria.
Ooh, yummy. Which I've got one question I'm saving till after the audience, and maybe that's going to answer that. But let's hand it over to the audience. Anybody have any questions for Paige?
So in the book, you said that maybe we should just keep it to writing good reviews about books. So now with writing this book, what is your opinion on someone giving their honest review about a book? Also leaving out, like, obviously people not being nasty and just hating on you as an author, but actually critiquing the book and what you have to write.
I love that you asked this question. We talked about this today.
And it's such an issue on the page.
It's a big thing. Everyone has a personal opinion. I love all reviews of my own work. If somebody wants to write a bad review, write it. I won't slit my wrists. I'm fine. I actually want to know. I would very much like to know what you think. And I'm not bothered by it. I've been in advertising for 30 years. People trash my work every single day. And I cried in my 20s. I'm fine now. So my opinion is that all reviews are valuable. And this is a really interesting thing for me, that negative reviews make me want to read the book. There's something about them that I go like, can I trust you? We were talking today about a book. Gail loved it. Fiona hated it. Gail hated it. Fiona loved it.
Miranda July on all fours.
I'm glad you remembered which title it was. And you hating it made me go, and it's on my next up to read pile. I really want to read it. I want to know if she's right or wrong. So, I do think that even in a negative review has value to a book. But not all authors feel that way. And I've had a couple of experiences on the page where an author hasn't had the glowing review that they would like, and it's upset them and they've left the club or sent me some hate mail. Or I've had a publicist phone me and say how upset everybody was and that somebody in the office was crying. So I've had a lot of experience with authors who aren't able to handle it. And I get it. You have bled onto a page sometimes 5 years, sometimes your whole life. It's not how I write, but I get that that's...
bled for a month.
Right. I get that that's process. And I get how harmful and hurtful it can be and that you may not want to write again. I get all those things. But for me, be honest. We don't play the ball, not the player. Is that the saying? Yeah, play the ball, not the player. There's a hatchet job and there's a bad review. A hatchet job is this person is a disgusting human being and they should never pick up a pen. Like, that's not necessary. But constructive, this book could have had a better edit. The proofreading wasn't great. I didn't like the grammage of the paper. I don't know. Like, constructive things that I can go, oh, I see. I mean, I had somebody in my Cape Town review put up their hand and said, every single character in Unprecedented was unlikable, something. And a few people came to my defense. And I was like, I'm fine with that. I'm fine that you have that feeling. I don't agree, but I'm so fine with it. I'm so glad that you engaged with it and whatever. So I think they're important. And I think they're important. We owe it to other readers. To be honest, I think we owe it. And it's the big reason that I don't allow authors to review their own books on the page. It's very hard to write a review of a book Gail Schimmel has written if Gail Schimmel is sitting right next to you. Because it's very hard.
Don't let it stop you, Paige. Don't let it stop you.
So I don't know, how do you feel about negative reviews?
Well, it's so funny because we had this conversation today and then I went to buy a macaroni cheese to heat up for my family to eat for supper tonight, and I bumped into a friend who I haven't seen for a while. And she went, like, out of the blue, I didn't really like the finish line. I really love your writing, but I didn't really like the finish line. My daughter-in-law loved it, but I didn't really like it.
That's crazy.
I channeled you.
How did that make you feel?
I channeled you, and I went, but I know you like my other books, so that's fine. We can't all love every book.
100%. I'm going to make Gail feel better. So when I told my mom that I was launching my book at Love Books, she said, lovely dear, have a lovely time. And then when I told her that Gail Schimmel was going to be interviewing me, she said, will it be online? Because Gail Schimmel is my mother's favorite South African author. Despite giving birth to me and calling me Paige, so you wanted me to be an author, and then love Gail Schimmel more than me. So that can make you feel better about bitch face in the shop who didn't like your novel.
She's a lovely woman. She is a lovely woman.
Well, she used to be a lovely woman.
Like the finish line.
You can kill her off in your next book, because that's the other thing you can do. You don't have to respond to a bad review. You can just kill them off in your next book in a horrible way, or take revenge, like Harry plots revenge. Those are all things I've actually thought about doing to people who've done bad things to me. You'll see in the book, Harry wants to take revenge.
I do think that sometimes on the Good Book Appreciation page, you have to be braver to write a review than write the original book, because the reviews of the reviews are sometimes equally scary.
It's true. That's very true. Book people have words and they know how to use them, and they have opinions. Yeah, really.
And I have to, there recently was a discussion about these short reviews that don't say anything, and I felt personally attacked. I just go, yeah, nice book, I loved it, you should read it.
It's true.
And I did comment on it.
It's true. It's very true.
Other questions?
I think I want to circle back to the question of why are you tall? That Gail asked earlier on.
Why are you tall?
Why are you tall? Yeah, why are you tall? Or how are you tall? I think you mentioned that you obviously like getting a cheap laugh and all of that. Do you ever feel like, obviously, especially say for example with this book, because I think it's getting a very like good reaction. I'm sure others have before, but do you ever fear that then you've hit not necessarily your prime, or how you're going to actually top that? I know you've spoken about how obviously you're not very precious about reviews, but in terms of your own standards and also being a creative, coming from it like obviously very competitive.
Especially given how young you are and how much of your life you have ahead.
Yeah. Do you
So
ever feel like it's going to be hard to top with the next book?
Honest truth, when I finish writing a book, I pretty much forget it. I move on. you know that old saying, the best way to get over one man is to get under another one? Always go back to the smut. I'm like that with a book. Hey? Oh, I'm so sorry. Listen, books are an education. And I think my protective mechanism, I'm so attached to everybody, my friends. These have been my best friends for 12 months. I'm so attached to them that I really deeply mourn finishing writing a book because I enjoy it so much. But I think my protection is that I'm ready for the next one and I know what I'm going to write and I can start obsessing about that. And I literally forget. So this book I actually wrote in 2023 and I had to go back and just refresh, what are all my characters' names again? And like remind myself because I literally move on. I've written it. I've done the very best that I can. Helen Moffat has done the very best she can, thank goodness. Andrea has done the very best she can. I always say to make sure my knickers aren't showing, to make it the best book that it is. And I have to let it go. I have to walk away. Otherwise, I'll destroy myself. And then I move into the next one and I'm like, get all excited about my new, shiny new thing.
Don't you find that you always think the next idea is the best idea you've ever had? The next book is the best idea you have ever had for a book. Because I always have that feel. I'll come up with a new idea and I'll be like, oh, this is the brilliant idea. And then I lose. And if it happens mid-book, it's very bad.
Oh, no, that's very bad. Funny, I don't have that. That's so interesting. No, I'm obsessed with the idea that I'm about to write to the highest level of obsession of every book. And I don't think about the others or feel the others. I don't know why. This is another therapy session.
We'll take this off our stools. Any more questions?
So big fan, love reading, obviously love words. What do you think about AI and what is coming our way?
So I just finished a book. It's called I Remember Being Born by Shawn Michaels. Oh, not going to remember. You can't get
You
it.
want me to Google it while you
if
talk?
you're in the mood, but otherwise I can Google it afterwards. You can't get it as a book in South Africa. You have to get it I got it as an audio book. And it's about a 76-year-old prize-winning poet in America who's invited to Silicon Valley to write a poem with AI, with a poetry bot. And she's obviously older generation, Pulitzer Prize winning, so she's very classic and old school. And she goes, and the whole book is an exploration of AI and writing. And it's absolutely fascinating, particularly because it's about poetry, which is so empathetic and requires so much humanity.
It's not even called I Remember Being Born. It's called Do You Remember Being Born?
Do you remember being born?
And it's by Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels, I got that semi-right, yes. So I'm very interested in this subject, especially because I'm in advertising and so much of it is being devoured by AI. I think at first I was violently opposed, hated it. You couldn't even actually bring it up in front of me. I would be that idiot who got outraged at dinner parties with idiots talking about you should just put it in ChatGPT and what. And then I've slowly kind of come around to I'm going to have to work with this thing, not against this thing. And in advertising, my day job, just 2 weeks ago, I've never had a job like this. I got a phone call from a client, said, hi, I got your name from somewhere. We've been trying to come up with a name for a new product and copy for a new product, and we've been using AI, and we haven't liked anything. And we've realized that we need a human being to do this job. And would you do it? And then I said, yeah, absolutely. And then I'm not normally scared to do a job. I was instantly terrified because I was like, I'm going to have to pour every inch of my humanity and empathy into this so that I'm diametrically not AI. So that's interested me is how I do think stories are very important, and stories aren't computer generated, although they are. But the crazy shit that happens, you can't make that up. That is the shit that comes from us. So I think we're going to have to ride the wave, and I think industries are going to fall away. Modeling, voiceover artists, it's terrible. It's devastating what's going to happen, but it's going to happen. Book cover design, it's going to happen. So we have to ride the wave and find our value in it. For me, I have to find my value and write the most humane, empathetic stuff that I can, so that people experience it as human and not as AI, which I think is going to turn us all off eventually. Interestingly, one of the booksellers we met today isn't on social media at all, the young guy. And I also think that's the other thing. There's going to be this complete turn away from robots and AI and social media. People are going to want to live, I don't know.
Authentic.
I like to think that's my hopeful response. And I hope there's hope in AI. Yeah, there was a question.
When you're so obsessed by the book for a year, I'm intrigued by how you managed to stay away for 5 years. What were you were you genuinely able to embrace life without a book in your head?
I had nothing.
It didn't bother you?
Didn't bother me. But remember that I'm coming up with ideas all day, every day for other things. So the newsletter, the GBAS newsletter. In my day job, I'm coming up with TV commercials daily. I'm constantly creating. Facebook book reviews. I'm constantly. So whether I'm coming up with an idea for a new Alan Gray TV commercial, or it's all a confluence of ideas. So I get my fill. I think otherwise I wouldn't be able to be alive. I agree. I wouldn't manage without that. That's important. That's like breathing. It's important.
There's a very interesting question there. And do you feel that your advertising day job sometimes drains that creativity that you could be using for writing?
Never feel that. It all adds to it. And there's an interesting thing. Kanyezi, I'm curious about you when you go on to your next journey, but I find that if I have a full day where I don't have any work, a full day to write, I write less than a day where I have 4 jobs. For some reason, the luxury of time is it's a bit debilitating, because you go, I'll just garden, I'll just have a cup of tea, I'll just clear my desktop, I'll just alphabetize my underwear drawer. I don't know, anything to not start. But if I'm working, then I know I've got between 1 and 2 to get my words down, and I better not waste a second of that, because that's all I'm going to get today. So
100%. We have the fantasy of being a full-time writer, but it would probably be terrible.
It would be awful. I don't think I would like it.
And that's our story, and we're sticking to it. Anyone else? Anything more? Had such interesting things come out of this audience.
The number of books. You said 2,000. If you were to sell 2,000 books, that would be considered bestseller.
Well, no, it's much less than that. And this, we're talking here South African fiction, right? So, and
Maybe we should ask Andrea.
Yeah, I was about to say,
looking at?
Let's make Andrea regret that she came to this launch.
Let's do that.
Because she keeps looking at you scared that you haven't delivered
she's
a
really
manuscript.
giving me horrible looks. So let's do this.
I mean, you are looking, if you're looking at commercial fiction, which I would call something like this, I want to sell at least 3,000 copies in the local market. So I always set the bar very high. But if you're looking at literary fiction, you sell in the local market 800 copies. You're actually doing really well. Interestingly, internationally as well, literary fiction, if you're selling 1,000 copies of something that's really literary, you've done well. Their commercial fiction, you're looking at millions of copies in an ideal world. But we're aiming at between 2 and 3 for a local fiction title.
Except for Paige's book, we are aiming for 23,000. And 5.
This is just not really a question, more of an observation. This book has actually had more, exposure. Because I've been reading Paige's books for a very long time, and this is the first one I've actually seen actively promoted in the other bookshops. I haven't gone to go dig in the local authors and, hello, do you have the new Paige Nick? And then they look at you blankly and have to order it. But this is actually it's on the recommended. It's fantastic to see that it's actually getting exposure.
So glad you said that, because there are some people here who've been so pivotal in doing that. And Shakti in the back there, if you have a book in you, you better hope she's in your corner Also Helen Hollyoak, who helped get on the exclusive books recommended and all the things she does. And Andrea and the whole team, Kanyezi up there. Zinandi is on her phone, which is very good because she's a social media. Her job is social media. So I've never had exposure like I've had on this book. Never. It's exponential, literally 50 times what I'm used to in a book. And I'm not sure what to attribute that to, but I'm very, very grateful. And I'm also very curious. Also, Sean is here from News 24, or he was here from News 24, and he hasn't been feeling well. But it's also the book of the month on News 24. It's the first fiction title they've ever put as a book of the month. It's always nonfiction. So that feels like a big deal. And that's thanks to the team and to Sean for putting their necks, we'll be polite, putting their necks on a block for this book, which means a lot. Thank you for recognizing me. And also Bethany's been there. I met her tonight for the first time, but she's been a member of the club from the beginning almost. And I recognized her from her little thumbnail. So really grateful for people who read South African fiction and support us and lift us up.
And Paige, the last question from me, what is next? What can we expect next?
Andrea, what's next? I wrote a novel. I'll make this very short. I wrote a novel that will never be published. I'm fiddling with the chair because I'm anxious about it. It's a terrible story. I wrote, after this, I had an idea for a book, like a really big idea. I got very excited about it. I sold it to my agent overseas, who sold it into film rights, and it was going to be my big break, big multi-million deal. We were talking big numbers. And then I delivered it after killing myself to get it done in time for Frankfurt Literary Festival. And 2 weeks later, Leanne Moriarty brought out her new novel, which is the identical book. Identical book. In fact, Andrea is the only person other than Helen, Sarah, and my agent who've read it. She's read it. So that will die. That cannot live. It's you can't fight. Yeah, Leanne Moriarty stole my baby, and not like she needed to either. She's doing just fine. So then yeah, right. Thank you. She won't notice. She won't know any different. And then so the only way to get out of bed after that, because I was really upset, was I started another book. So I've just finished a draft, very dirty, disgusting draft of a new novel that hopefully will be something soonish.
And Leanne won't steal. Oh, Leanne, I think we're supposed to. There's a weird way you're supposed to say her name.
I'm going to say it in my head in a very rude way for the rest of my life. Words that I can't repeat.
Paige, thank you so much.
Thank you, Gail.
Guys, Paige will be signing. I'm going to take this opportunity to point out that books are the best gift, and that you should really buy a few for every birthday you've got coming up. And if you have a friend who is a Gabas, is that what we're calling it? Member? Then buy it for them because it's a perfect gift. And a signed one. We don't often get Paige to Johannesburg, so this is a big thing. Please take advantage of it. And I'm going to jump in front of the queue and get mine signed. Thank you for being such a great audience.
Thank you.